So let's start, I think. Whoever is attending there, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar titled Horizon in South Asia, organized by the European Foundation for South Asian Studies. We were supposed to have this as a physical seminar during the 45th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, but the UN is hosted by Switzerland, and Switzerland had some restrictions because of COVID. So these physical seminars got cancelled. And that's why we're doing this as a webinar, which will later be uploaded on the UN's website, and will be regarded as a side event. So thank you very much for joining. This is also the first time for me I'm doing this, so please bear with me. One thing, during the presentations of the speakers or during this webinar, you can send in your questions to at the bottom you have, I'm told, as I can see, you have a button which says Q&A. There you can post your questions, which will be taken. You can also say whom you're asking the question to, and those we will take at the end of the presentations of the speakers. So there is, as of now, there is no, I see there is another option, which is, putting your hand up, but then not physically, but with a button or something. There is no need to do that. Just post your question on the Q&A and we will take them later. Thank you for joining, and just a quick introduction of EFSAS, of the European Foundation for South Asian Studies. We are located in Amsterdam. We are an EU accredited independent non-profit think tank and a policy research institution. EFSAS provides strategic in-depth analysis, research, policy advice, and forecasts related to developments in the field of politics, international relations, conflict management, security, diplomacy, strategic affairs, and conflict resolution. The organization EFSAS tries to effectively use tools of research and dialogue to provide innovative strategies to overcome adversity and conflict, and to build, or at least try to promote, lasting peace in South Asia. As I've already said, the title of this webinar is Rise of ISIS in South Asia, and the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, has been considered overthrown on numerous occasions. The US and its allies have claimed to have defeated its leadership more than once. What was considered a territorial caliphate, so-called caliphate, in Iraq and Syria back in the summer of 2014 has now been diminished to a very small cell, sleeper cell, with ISIS losing in 2019 the last pocket of its territory and political dominion over the local population. However, despite the demise of its physical so-called caliphate, ISIS remains a threat considering its hybrid organizational nature, which allows it to regroup back into its battle-hardened figure. The depicted narrative of an Islamic State by ISIS has shown the capability and flexibility to adapt itself with particular unmet needs of the people in different regions, taking advantage of local contexts such as political instability, corruption, public discontent, and ongoing inter-ethnic and inter-religious conflicts, thus presenting its utopia in accordance with regional demands. Therefore, this webinar will explore the ideological expansion of ISIS to the region of South Asia. To make it clear, it is not about the physical expansion only, it's more about the ideological expansion of ISIS towards other regions, and in this particular context towards South Asia. And in order to shed light on this particular question, we have invited a group of speakers who will further deliberate upon growing terrorism in the region, in South Asia, and the implications also for peace and stability in South Asia, and of course beyond. One speaker of ours, Dr. Matthew Garrett, could not attend last minute because of COVID. Apparently, he's a senior lecturer at law in the University of Sussex, and he had something, I think he was providing something regarding COVID, um, or answering some questions or a lecture, but it has to do with COVID, and it was a restriction put up by the university, or even by the local directives in the UK. So we have three panelists now. I'm going to introduce them. First of all, we have Mr. Timothy Foxley, who is an independent political and military researcher. He's also a research fellow at EFSAS and a former senior analyst for the British Ministry of Defense and the Swedish Ministry of Defense, and also CIPRI. He is going to focus on ISKP in Afghanistan and the implications for US and Taliban talks. So how will that have an effect in South Asia? Then we have Dr. Paul Stott. He's an EFSAS research fellow, a writer, an academic, and a researcher on terrorism and radicalization. Focuses mainly on British jihadism, Islamism, and international security. And that is also what he's going to talk about. He's going to talk about British ISIS connections and local terrorist groups' turf war in the region of South Asia. And then we have Mr. Malaz Dawood, who is the former Chief of Staff of Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani. He's also a research fellow at the Barcelona Center for International Affairs and a research fellow at EFSAS. I've seen that there are many attendees who are joining us from Jammu and Kashmir, and they will be particularly interested in his speech because he's going to talk about ISIS in Pakistan and also the region of Jammu and Kashmir, again, about its ideological foundations in this region, and maybe also physical, but mostly the ideological foundations. Then, of course, Matthew Garrett, who is not here, but he'll maybe later on put up his speech. What we would like to do through assembling a group of experts who will tackle this issue through various perspectives. We would like to foster and improve the level of international understanding and knowledge on serious security issues in South Asia, which of course, like I've already said, cover a wide spectrum of violent extremism, ongoing radicalization, inter-ethnic conflicts, and of course, the main issue which remains in South Asia is terrorism. Finally, I would like to emphasize that we have invited the speakers to present their viewpoints, and that the views expressed might not necessarily coincide or fully coincide with the views that EFSAS has. So like I said, just to set the rules of engagement, speakers will present the presentations. Afterwards, everyone can put up during the presentations and even afterwards their Q&As. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A session. So without wasting any further time, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Tim Foxley, who will talk about ISKP in Afghanistan and implications for US-Taliban peace talks. Mr. Foxley, you have the floor.